In our last video, we cruised through the 2016 Danchuk Trifive Nationals, saw some beautiful cars, and watched participants try their luck on the drag strip. Join us today as we spotlight 5 cool cars at the event and hear from their owners. Ask anyone who attended the 2016 Trifive Nationals, and they'll tell you what an inspiring, unique event it truly was.
My favorite part of the show was just the smiles. Everyone's happy at this show, and we just try to have fun. We don't try to overcomplicate things. We try to have a good time, and I think that's what makes it a good show.
Came here last year without the car and just absolutely fell in love with the show.
It didn't take long for us to notice a theme emerging: power. From dual quads to superchargers, a large segment of cars were clearly made to go fast. One car that stood out had the beautiful looks of a Tri-5, but the heart of a 60s Corvette.
It all started in 2008. My wife and I drove up to Bluffton, Indiana, of all things, to buy a dog. And as we were leaving, the gentleman that had the dog took me outside and popped open this 5-car garage. This was in the garage. And as we were leaving, Larry had told us, he said, you know, I've had this car for 12 years. I'm wanting to restore a 57 convertible. Well, my wife picks up on this. She bought it for me, and all I really wanted to do with the car was put a 4-speed in it. And as we got into the fabrication for the 4-speed, I thought, you know, as nice as this thing is, I really wanted to go the big block route, and a friend of mine had this 427. Come to find out that this was a counter-exchange engine that came out of either 67, 68 Corvette. So we got the engine, and the engine fed in perfect, and I wanted to leave the of course, the air box and just try to make it still look stock, but with the big engine in it.
As the old saying goes, there's no replacement for displacement. And generally this is true, until you bolt a supercharger on top. This year's show had a wide variety of blower cars, and we talked to one owner who had just completed his build.
So we've had it for about 15 years. We took it apart about 11 years ago to redo and finished it up on Thursday. You know, it was always a dream to have a blower on a car. To me, that's just kind of the top. It is built for the street, the pump gas motor, but it still has all that blower whine and power, and of course the visual aspect of it.
Our high horsepower theme continues with this beautiful car that was equal parts show and go.
We're real motorheads, and we love pro streets and lots of power. And this is the ultimate car. We were going to build a car that we really like. The top has been sectioned on the thing 2.5 inches. The hood on it is a custom-made aluminum hood.
It actually took a long time to pick that color, and we met with the DuPont representatives, and she and I spent 2 hours picking that color.
The engine is a 573 Keith Black, all aluminum, marine block, and it's setting right at 1,100 horsepower. It's a great cruiser. We just use the cars for charity events and cruising. We've had a lot of great compliments on our car here, and to us, that's all the reward that we need.
The level of craftsmanship and design in the custom cars this year was clearly very impressive, but some owners preferred the aesthetic of the original car.
Well, in 1974, I bought it as a basket case. It was a solid, rust-free Texas body, but it was all apart and just in pieces. And did a very slow, meticulous, correct restoration. The first thing I really did was concentrate on the engine. I bought a set of 7 NOS GM fuel injection pistons. 7, not 8. That's all I could find. And that was the key to building the engine. Without those pistons, you couldn't start it over. Then I got a Duntov 097 camshaft, a set of correct heads, the correct block, and of course the fuel injection unit to go on top of it to make a 283 horse, 283 cube engine.
It was cool to see a nearly 60-year-old car restored to the way it looked back in the 50s. Just down the row was another very original car that came with a great story.
This was one of the 500 cars from the Lambrecht auction in Pierce, Nebraska back in 2013. And this was the guy that had the dealership would trade your car in but would never sell a trade-in. All went out to his farm. And he had 500 cars that his daughter finally talked him into parting with them. Ours was traded in November of 1961, sat in a pasture ever since. That's why the license plate, pasture find. And We are the second owners with a 30,000 mile car. I mean, you just don't find that. We had every intention of making a hot rod out of it. Told a couple guys that at the auction that were right there that what our plans were, and they changed our minds. Out of 1.7 million 55s that they built, this is only one of 147, and just numbers like that, it just was hard to chop it up.
These were only a small selection of cars that came to the 2016 Tri-5 Nationals. Thanks to everyone who participated, and we can't wait to see you next year at the 2017 show.